If the kids don't have a sense of awe, a sense of reverence, a sense of wow for the environment, how can we expect for them to act in ways where they want to sustain it and care for it into the future? So by getting out and helping them to make those connections, we are teaching sustainability.
You know, it has to be real and it has to be an actual thing that they're doing or an actual difference that they're making. And these students now, they're so proud. They own it. Like, they are so proud of what they've done, you know?
Last spring, I saw an advertisement for teachers across Canada to become a part of a nationwide inquiry and dialogue with their students to investigate climate change impacts, adaptations, mitigations, and ultimately investigate with students solutions. So it's a solutions-focused project.
The big why is I think that kids need to be a part of making sure that we're taking care of our environment and making sure that we are making as little a footprint as possible. And if you can get rid of all the food waste, that's a big, huge step that's not going to the landfill. And it teaches kids that you can be socially responsible, you can have your little chore and go, wow, I made a difference.
We're trying to get the students to be leaders in our local environment. So it's all about knowing about our local systems and being stewards of our local systems.
But they get really serious about looking after that salad bowl, and I can't help to think that that's going to transfer to looking after our planet as well. So,
If you want to grab a jacket.
It's not that cold.
Okay.
So my name's Tara Whittick, and I teach at Windermere Elementary School. Currently I'm teaching a grade 6-7 class. We also learned about water. Well, we were working with WildSight on their Beyond Recycling program, which is a 24-week program where an educator comes into the classroom and co-teaches, takes the kids learning about how they can help take care of the planet and have a positive impact or leave a smaller eco-footprint beyond just recycling. So the students spent several weeks learning about different types of energy, learning about alternative modes of transportation, water in our world, how to do a waste audit. They learned about the web of life and how if one animal is affected, it affects the whole web. We went on a farm tour. We had a lot of hands-on learning happening in the Beyond Recycling program. It was fantastic. Of course, once those connections are made, then you can bring the learning deeper and talk to them about how they can have a role in helping the planet and that. And it's pretty exciting for the students when they start to see that, yeah, there are problems, but hey, I could use my engineering brain, or I could use my thoughts as an artist, and I can maybe have a positive impact in changing people's behaviors towards more sustainable behaviors. It's been a major shift with kids in my class around going home and sharing the message and changing behavior, whether it's water conservation, whether it's about biking more and driving less, buying food that's been produced locally or in more environmentally friendly ways with less packaging. All of those practices are embedded in the Beyond Recycling curriculum, and students have really caught on and are practicing.
Est-ce que vous pouvez me dire pourquoi nous sommes venus ici au Eco Garden pour cette partie du projet?
my name is Janet Kite, and I work at Fernie Secondary, and I'm lucky enough to have outdoor ed classes that I teach for grade 8s and 9s.
And then we wanted to move outside of a classroom and see what you could do for a project. So we've come to the Eco Garden today because?
And so this year we're specifically looking at climate change. So we sort of, we focus a bit on Earth Day. What are some green actions that we could do? And so I've had a lot of good success talking to the kids about our food and its impact on the planet. I like to move it outside of the classroom, and so that's why I was in contact with Don Day to be able to come to the Eco Garden and help our kids learn how to grow their own food with the Salad Bowl project. I think probably one of their biggest learning is that the tomato, although everyone says, of course it tastes better when it's grown locally, they're really amazed to see that if we buy in the grocery store, 21 cents of sales would come to our community or maybe our economy, whereas if we're looking at growing locally or supporting local farming, I think it was like $2.85 or 75 cents comes back to our economy, and they sort of understand the taste of it, but as they start to sort of think about, well, how does that impact our businesses, our economy, our chances to live in a smaller community like Fernie, it's really interesting how you can sort of see their thinking of that impact. And then when we take that just a little bit further and we bring them out and they're able to meet a local expert and they realize they have this project, where they have to, successfully be able to grow a salad, they really start discussing a lot.
Roots, they're like, imagine what the roots look like underneath.
We can't feel like we need to be the expert at everything, right? That reaching out into the community for something that's working already makes it easier on us. A bit scary too, though, because we need to let go of the lead, right? But one phone call or one connection with a community expert makes the learning for the kids so authentic. They really see that real world connection, and that real world connection equally builds such engagement. Because in a classroom, it's one thing. If I had stayed in the classroom and said, okay, here's the soil, here's the seeds, and I showed that one movie, it's like just scratching the surface. But as soon as we come here and we meet Dawn, they have that connection outside of the classroom. They go home and they talk to their parents about it. They see her or the eco gardens mentioned in the newspaper around there. It's so much more authentic.
In with our browns, right? Remember our greens and our browns? It's going to break down with air and then it's going to turn into soil. And it won't. Well, Mission Compostable started when I was teaching last year. I kind of decided that our school needed a compost because everything was going in the trash, and everybody's very healthy here in Fernie, so everybody's eating lots of fruit, and then it's all going in the trash. So I really wanted that to happen, but I wanted it to be their ideas. So I just kind of sneakily looked in the garbage and was like, wow, lots of people are eating apples these days. Oh, lots of bananas in here. Interesting. And then we started brainstorming about ways we could just make a difference in our community and for our environment. And of course, that kind of came up, right? And somebody said, oh, it'd be great if we could make a compost. And I just went, so many letters were written and phone calls and emails and lots of cute kids like begging organizations for things, and of course everybody says yes. So then we got our compost bins, then we got our larger compost bins, our compost buckets in every class. The day they came to the classroom, it was so exciting. We wrote like class numbers on the bottom and set up our bins outside, and then we had to educate everybody about how to compost. So now we're doing brochures and more posters and more computer science, more English curriculum. Everything just came together, and I didn't even really need to plan that much of it. Like, it was a real leap of faith jumping in there and saying, okay, we're gonna do this. And I would have teachers and our principal and people saying, but what about, how are you gonna, how's this gonna happen? And I would just think, I don't know. I have no idea, but we're gonna figure it out. And we did, we really worked as a team. 10-year-olds are so capable of so many things. And I think I just wanted them to do something. Instead of solving a math problem about, John bought 4 apples, well, what if we actually bought 4 apples? Or what if we composted 4 apples? And it's just more real,
This is the Hugo culture. I can say it pretty well because I'm John. And it's just piling up anything that's compostable and that will turn into dirt. So sticks, grass, hay, dirt, and you can plant plants in it.
I'm Linda Out. I teach grade 5 and 6 at Winlaw School. Our school garden project started when our principal offered us collaboration time. So there were 3 teachers last spring. We got together once a week and designed this inquiry project for grades 4, 5, and 6. We thought about the garden, and then the whole quandary of a school garden is who's going to water it in July and August. So then we thought, well, we need to have a garden that nobody needs to water in July and August, and that became the inquiry.
That you probably can't see.
When the 4, 5, 6s were working on the beds, the K-3s were studying the bees and what they need. And so we have a community group that put a beehive in our library, and they fly out and find food, and then go back to their hive. And so they studied what bees need, and they should know about how their local systems work and how to support them. And the whole garden as a place-based thing, I think, came together with the amount and the cooperation we got from the community to just connect and want to support this project.
Grains. And so she said, what was one of the grains you wanted to plant? Wheat. Oats.
It's a fun, hands-on way of teaching kids about the environment and nature.
It's just cool. Because it's really rewarding to do a whole bunch of work and then be able to come back and pick all your vegetables and see how much work you did.
Having a garden is really nice because then you can just, like, in your lunchtime, you can just come and play down here and, like, eat raspberries and strawberries and, like, mint and chives and just play. It's a really nice spot to play and hang out.
And I find that it's a good way to start your day or have in your day to be able to go outside and just do something that isn't math or writing, or it's kind of just a change that's nice in your school day. And I think it helps you, like, go back instead of just getting so bored of everything. You can kind of mix it up, and then it makes the normal work fun.
So the school gardens, each class has a bed, and the high school has a bed, and then there's a greenhouse as well. So some of the compost goes up to the greenhouse. And then you just plant your garden, and we have people that volunteer over the summertime to keep it going, and we have a Green Thumb group that comes in on every Thursday and helps keep it going. You work usually once or twice a week making sure your bed's okay, and then in the fall we have a harvest fest and celebrate. So you hope you got lots of potatoes.
Take this.
Find it on your own.
Well, this particular group of kids are doing a film called Where Does It Really Go? And so we're going to the landfill site, we've been to the transfer station, and we'll go to the recycle to see, like, okay, what really happens? Yeah. Bokashi is like, it's a fermenting agent attached to wheat bran. So it looks like you have a big bag of wheat bran, and I always say you sprinkle it on the compost just like you would Parmesan on your spaghetti. And that's all you need, like a little fistful, and you sprinkle it on and you do it. And that agent that causes it to break down faster can't have air, so that's why it's airtight. You don't have to sort out meat, you don't have to worry about milk, you don't have to worry about anything, it just all goes.
Well, how we first found out about it was near the start of the semester. We were told that we were one of the few schools that got chosen to do the project. So from then we started planning out, and we each chose like the topics we felt passionate about. So we had like a wide variety of projects coming out of this class. And then from then we broke off into groups, did our own research, and then came back together, like compiled all our results, and then presented a big project.
And so the big inquiry was to have students investigate climate change impacts and solutions in their communities, and then dialogue with other participating schools, and ultimately to come up with a report based on their advice for leaders of Canada. And so in May, after all the work that they've been doing, they will present to Minister McKenna, and eventually it'll be shared with Prime Minister.
The projects will be amassed, and the 10 students that were chosen in Ottawa will write a sort of presentation, and they get to present it.
We present it on the 18th to Minister McKenna. After all of the people who were involved in the web seminars, there's another web seminar, and we all present what we've accomplished with Minister McKenna. Yeah.
It was really useful that Green Learning came up with a central theme for the inquiry, which was how can we have a low carbon and prosperous Canada. And so that was like the overarching framework, and then the kids were asked to find something that was relevant to them and their community and that still addressed that overall. So basically in developing questions, the students just started to look at climate change, like I guess fields of impact or topics, and so they quickly came up with their passions.
My group got to work on forestry and sustainable forestry, and we looked a lot into alternatives and how we can use wood to last longer and not be such a wastable resource.
My project was like the bee project, and we just worked on like how we can save the bees and bring them back because they're dying fast, and that's not good.
My project was based on food waste, and what I learned was that approximately 40% of food in Canada is wasted, which is kind of a shocking figure.
So Green Learning Canada is an awesome resource for teachers who are doing environmental education. It's free, and there's a website, greenlearning.ca, and it's organized. This organization is basically done by teachers for teachers. And their premise is to inspire and empower students across Canada to investigate issues facing their community around sustainability.
The project was recycling and composting, and we learned about like how most people like here in Cranbrook, they don't have their composting bins or recycling bins here.
My group focused on transportation and mostly just like the difference between the small cities that we live in, because Cranbrook is a really small town compared to the large cities, and how to get people to use the community services that are provided for them.
Another thing I really liked about this was that it got students thinking specifically about Cranbrook and the Trench, and discovering more about the physical geography of the Trench, and whether or not what they were researching in academia through journal articles was appropriate for our place. It also got them connecting with local experts, so beekeepers, for example, the City of Cranbrook Energy Manager, Wild Site, so agencies that are here that have already dug in, and so it was a very place centered project, but also we have to remember how connected we are geographically to everywhere else, through air, through water, and so, they were also able to see, okay, so this is good for Cranbrook, but what can we recommend for BC and for Canada? So place helps make curriculum meaningful. It brings a sense of reality, a sense of things in the textbook always look kind of perfect or perfectly explained, and then when you get out there, things are a little bit more muddy, so it helps them connect what they're learning to real life.